In April 2019, journalist Shahzeb Ali Shah Jilani was booked under Section 10A, 11 and 20 of PECA. September 2020, senior journalist Absar Alam was charged with sedition under PECA Section 20 for allegedly using derogatory language against state institutions and personalities. Same month, journalist Bilal Farooqi was arrested after an FIR was registered against him under Section 11, 13, 20 and 24, which were used to initiate investigations against two other journalists. Is PECA, Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act, a law that primarily targets journalists? This is what we will discuss in today's episode of the Digital Cauldron. I'm Iman Malik.
I'm Sadaf Khan, and today we'll talk about how a law that was supposed to prevent cybercrime essentially turned into a decree of thou shalt not speak. So back in 2014, digital rights activists were kind of shocked by a leaked document that was the initial version of what was to eventually become the Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act. The leaked version of that document, which thankfully never tabled in the National Assembly, was full of really regressive clauses. It looked like something that had been put in place to create a really regressive system of governance around all internet content. So for 2 years, digital rights activists, journalists, even some political workers worked extensively to help improve that draft. Policy briefs were written, recommendations were submitted. Even a series of protests were, held across Pakistan. And in 2016, August 2016, PECA, Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act, was finally passed.
So was it any better?
I wish it was better from the original version, of course. But the law that was passed continues to incorporate many provisions that are really problematic. Essentially, what PECA does is create a scenario, create a jurisdiction to criminalize various forms of online speech. It criminalizes hate speech, it criminalizes glorification of offenses, speech that is against the modesty of a natural person, and technically all these kinds of speeches do fall under the category of prohibited speech. They should be criminalized. But the way PECA does it is so subjective and arbitrary that the effectiveness of the law is lost. So, for example, it doesn't only criminalize speech that incites hatred, but also criminalizes speech that is likely to incite hatred. Now, laws that are based on likelihood, you can imagine how they will be interpreted, right?
Right.
So it just...
So do similar loopholes exist in PECA?
Yeah. So that's not the only loophole. There are various loopholes that unfortunately, since PECA has passed, have been used extensively against journalists, political workers, activists, human rights defenders who have been vocal online to such an extent that Islamabad High Court, in the proceedings in a similar case in which PECA was used to initiate investigations against a journalist, the Islamabad High Court actually brought in FIA and talked about how they might be abusing their powers under the law. So yes, the loopholes have been abused in that sense, and it incorporates a lot of issues that probably not just fall under cybercrimes. For example, it also creates a terrorism charge for online speech.
But don't we already have an anti-terrorism act?
Yeah. We do have an anti-terrorism act, and we have the Pakistan Penal Code that we discussed in the previous episode as well. So effectively, what PECA is doing is creating parallel charges for things that have already been criminalized in through different laws. And what it does practically is create this jurisdictional issue, because then the same thing is liable and penalized not only under PECA, for which the main investigative agency is the Federal Investigation Agency, the FIA, but also police. That is the main investigation agency for crimes under the PPC. And what happens is that when these jurisdictions collide, and the same thing, the same speech is criminalized under multiple laws, becomes the jurisdiction of more than one law enforcement agency, people who are actually facing cybercrime, they suffer.
They suffer.
So for example, women who might be being blackmailed online, whose private pictures might have been leaked, who need immediate access to justice. They're stuck in this legal complication where jurisdictions fall within, simultaneously falls with two different agencies.
And they can't get the support that
Yeah.
they need then.
Exactly.
In 2016, when PECA was being debated in the parliament, critical voices were told that they were being alarmist and that the law was being drafted with good intentions. What is that saying about good intentions again? Yep, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Today we saw how a law can be abused if proper oversight and accountability mechanisms are not built in. In our next episode, we will talk about a few more laws that have an impact on your rights in digital spaces. Stay tuned to the Digital Cauldron and learn what other challenges are brewing in cyberspace.